by that time, Corey looks, well, what do you think did this? I said, I don't know, but I don't even think whatever did this is 44 Magnum's going to do any good against it. So I just told my cousin, I said, hey, get a couple guns up here and get them loaded, because whatever it is, we're going to drive right up on top of it. They were very large creatures, and the best I remember, they were red in color.
This is the Cryptid Creatures Podcast. I am Brian, and with me as always is my co-host Todd. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, man. Not too much. How you doing?
Doing great. Excited about this upcoming guest we got here.
Me too. We got Ben coming on. He's been through several things here. He's talking about some different kind of creatures, maybe a dogman type creature, and UFOs. Some UFO kind of stuff going on. So UFOs. Kind of interesting episode coming up here. So
could be exciting.
Could be. Probably will be. So let's just bring him on. You ready?
Right on. Let's get him.
All right, here we go. Hey, Ben, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you all for having me. I'm honored to be on the show.
Yeah, it's good.
I haven't done a podcast in quite a while.
We appreciate you coming on for sure.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all having me. So
Ben, you've had several encounters and paranormal things going on in your life. What was the first one that was going on with you, and how old were you when that happened?
That I can remember, I would call what I seen. We used to have a cattle farm, and we had about 150 white-faced Herefords on probably 1,100 acres of ground. So, that was, everyday job, night, and day we'd go out there, we'd have to count the head of cattle and everything. The first thing I really seen, I would call it more of not a cryptid, but an out of place creature, right? As me and my dad were out there, and we seen like off in the distance, probably 500-600 yards out, looked like 3 wolves. Okay, we knew they weren't coyotes because we coyote hunted all the time, on the land to keep them, that, and we had half breed, but coyote coy dogs that would attack the calves and that. We knew we could see them off in the distance. These were not dogs. These were not coyotes. They were very large creatures, and the best I remember, they were red in color. And of course, on the farm, we always carried a gun with some type of rifle. And when they seen us, they looked at us. There was 3 of them. They did not act scared at all. They just kind of, I guess, looked at us and kept trotting off in the distance. Well, at the time, I had an AK-47 with me, which, if you know anything about them, they're not a long-range weapon. You're talking to hit a target 100, 150 yards at best. So they were that 500-600 yards out, but I still took the gun and I fired off, probably 20 rounds. I had dirt flying around them, whatnot. And they took off running. I mean, they just squatted down in the back end and took off running. So I don't believe they were kind of supernatural creatures. I think they were something that was the only time in the whole time we owned that cattle farm that we seen something like that out there. I can't say what they were. I don't know if they were like a dire wolf. I guess you guys have probably heard of people seeing dire wolves still.
Yeah, we have, actually.
Okay. So I've never seen anything like that around here, anywhere I've traveled, anywhere before. And when I fired at them, like I said, they took off running. And that's the only time in, the years we owned the farm that we ever seen anything like that out there. So that was probably the first encounter of anything strange. that I'd had.
Did you get to see anything, any kind of facial characteristics of these things, or was it just too far away?
Well, yeah, I mean, 500-600 yards, yeah, I could see them. They were really large in the front, but like when they went down, it's almost like a hyena, kind of. In the back end, they were small. Um, if you know what I mean, they
Yeah.
were really large in the front, kind of reddish color, and small in the back.
Were these things?
But,
you think these things were bigger than hyenas?
oh yes, yes.
Okay.
So, but before that, the guy we had the farm with, my dad he had cattle too on the land. He knew I was interested, in the paranormal and stuff. And he had told me one time, more than once, that he thought he had seen a hyena out there on that land. So, I believed him. The guy he was an older man. He had no reason to lie about nothing like that.
Right.
And then one day we see 3 of these creatures, and I believe that's probably what he's seen, is what we saw. But yeah, they were bigger than hyenas. They had more fur.
Did you notice did they have a snout?
Yeah. Oh, yes. They had a protruded snout, like a wolf. Yes, absolutely. They did that. They did have that.
Were they strictly 4-legged? Did you see any stand up?
Yes. No, they never stood up. They were strictly 4-legged creatures. Even when I fired at them, they stayed on all fours and ran.
Okay.
Wow. Maybe there's some hybrid overgrown hyena cryptid out there running around.
It could be. I just, I say they were, just at some kind of out of place. They shouldn't have been there in this part of the country.
Right.
It was something we never seen before and we never seen again.
Did you ever go look for tracks over there where they were standing or walking, or you didn't?
We never found any tracks. No. And I was out there every day, like I said, day or night. Me and it was my dad and the guy we owned, and my best friend Corey. We would go out there every day because we had to. We had to count, our cattle, the head, and we had, if they weren't there, we had to travel the whole land that we owned to try to count the head of cattle. No, I never found any strange tracks there.
And none of your cattle ever came up missing?
Oh, we had cattle die. Yeah, stuff attacked them.
Okay.
We just blamed that on the coyotes and the wild dogs there, which, we shot all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was just that one time in that 1 week that we seen these strange 3, wolf-looking creatures.
Right.
Do I believe they killed any of our cattle? I doubt that. Okay. I do doubt that. But
skinwalkers.
Skinwalkers are Navajo. I can tell you some about skinwalkers because I was friends with the late J.C. Johnson, if you guys ever heard of him.
No.
Yeah, he was a really good researcher, and unfortunately he passed away about 3 years ago, and he lived in around Farmington, New Mexico, the Four Corners. And he lived on Navajo land, and he got to know the Navajo very well, and I got to know some of the Navajo people through him. So I've been told stories about skinwalkers. What would y'all like to know about skinwalkers? If there's something I can tell you, I absolutely will.
Well, I think I've heard that they're shapeshifters. They can turn into anything from a dog man to a Bigfoot to is that right? I don't know.
Yeah, but what I believe that they do is they practice black magic, okay? And they can project an image of themselves being something else. They don't actually transform. They project an image that you see around them.
Okay.
Now that's just my theory, my belief from what I've talked to and, been told by these people.
Gotcha.
They call them the Yinaldushi. That's the Navajo word for them.
So how do these things exist, supposedly? Are they a paranormal kind of thing?
The skinwalkers?
Interdimensional, outer dimensional? What?
Oh, if you want to get into Dogman and the true Bigfoot, the one at LBL, no, I believe that was government created, but the ones like we see, in the Ohio River bottoms and that, yes, I believe they're interdimensional creatures, that come through portals, and I don't believe we can hurt them just because they're not from this world.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You think that's
Now, do I believe there's government created ones? Sure, absolutely. For what happened to LBL, knowing Roger's story and that, yes, that they can absolutely be hurt and die.
LBL stands for
Land Between the Lakes in Kentucky.
Okay, gotcha. I
knew that.
I couldn't remember the words.
Yeah.
I knew it was
been
something.
There many times. It's only 2 hours from my house. I mean,
all right.
when I was a kid growing up, my grandma and grandpa in Kentucky, they kept a camper trailer there, and we go down there and stay. But I've been there many times, so.
So what else?
So you got another? Do you have another? Tell us about a big.
You want to hear about the UFO encounter and that happened about 6 miles from where I live in this?
Okay.
Yeah. Tell us about that one.
But before I get into that, there's another story that happened right there in the same area. This was about 1991. I didn't have my license yet. It's me and my best friend Corey, and we were, riding a four-wheeler back there on land close to our farm. And we rode up, into woods where there was a clearing at. And he said, Ben, look over there. There's a brown burlap bag. And I got to look and I said, yeah, you know what? Yeah, it is. There's something laying there, Corey. It looks like a brown burlap bag. So you got to remember, being out here in the country and the farm, I always carried a weapon. And at the time I was carrying a .44 Magnum. So we get over there to it, and the closer we get, I'm like, that's not a burlap bag. It's not. We get up there closer to it, and it's a pig. It's the dead pig, right? Well, when we stop the four-wheeler and get off, I walk up there and I'm looking down at the pig. There is no blood in the pig. None on the pig, none on the ground, none on the grass. It has been cut from its neck all the way down to its gullet, sliced open. No blood.
Not even a splash, not even a drop.
Not a splash, not a drop, nothing, not on the ground, not on the pig, nowhere around it. And Corey kept saying, Ben, look down. I am, Corey, I'm looking down. And I see a bloodless pig. So he said, no, look down closer to your feet. So when I look down, the pig is in the middle of about a perfect 10-foot circle has been pressed down in the grass. Like the grass had just been pressed into a flat circle. The pig was right in the dead center of that.
So you're thinking
like
some alien
circle?
some going on?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to get into next about what we've seen on the same area. So it had been pressed down, and this pig's right in the center of it. But, around here, I spent enough time in the woods that you find dead animals. We got possums, coyotes, buzzards. Y'all are in Indiana. You got the same kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
If something dies like that, coyotes, possums, buzzards, flies, all that stuff's going to, land on it and start eating it.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I could tell, the pig had been dead less than 36 hours, probably no more than 24 hours by the look of it. But nothing had touched it. Nothing, not even a fly would land on this thing.
Interesting.
And like I said, it was in the middle of a perfect circle, no blood, not a splash, not nothing, like it had been drained of the blood. By that time, Corey looks, well, what do you think did this? I said, I don't know, but I don't even think whatever did this is .44 Magnum's going to do any good against it. And we were scared. We got my four-wheeler and left.
Was the cut, the slice down the middle, was it precise, or was it more like
I collect knives, and I have many, many high-end knives. Whatever cut this looked more like a burn, like it had been cut with something like a surgical laser or something.
The laser. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting.
Yep, I hear that a lot.
So
some experiments going on there.
That's what I think, and like I said, we were scared. I don't know. We probably less than 5 minutes we stayed there. And people ask me, was it mutilated? Was eyes missing, or was I, or I don't remember no eyes missing. I don't remember, like the jaw being cut. I remember the cut in the stomach, but I wasn't about to open it to see if any organs had been pulled out.
Right.
But the rest of it, I don't remember anything like, they talk about mutilations, eyes missing, organs missing. I don't remember that. I don't remember seeing that.
Right. Well, let's think about this for a minute. The only reason you would see a pig in that situation, or a hog, would be, the only thing that I can think of is if some people were having some kind of ritual.
There was no hog farms in that area. Where the pig come from, I don't know. And to perform, if they did perform a ritual, which, when I was on the Goatman Bridge, I found evidence of that. Okay.
Yeah.
This didn't look like no kind of ritual because the circle was too perfect. The cut was too precise. And if a ritual would have been performed, where was the blood?
Right. And you said that the incision, precision of the incision was, it looked like a laser had done it. So yeah, I'm just trying to rule out any possibility of anything on Earth, basically.
We had a cattle farm and we'd kill our cattle, and cut their throat before we'd have them butchered. And I own good knives. I mean, like Emerson Customs and stuff that are razor sharp. Nothing I've ever seen has made a cut like this. Whatever.
I was just going to say, you didn't get a picture of it or anything. You didn't.
Well, you're talking, this was 91 and, I did have a cell phone back then, but it was a big old block. Remember the big old block phones that you couldn't text, you couldn't take pictures on them, nothing. You just made calls. You made a call, it cost like $5 a minute. And
yeah.
So, there was no way to get a picture of this back then.
Right.
So, okay, let's fast forward to November of 96. Me and my cousin were going down the same road. We're off in the woods. We'd found this dead pig, right? When we come down this road, it was late at night. I would say probably, 1 a.m, something like that. We were out looking for coyotes, on the border of our farm. We didn't want coyotes or wild dogs, chasing our cattle or killing them. Mm-hmm. So we were driving down this old road that borders our farm. We see a light off in the distance. Well, we didn't know what it was. And I said, I told my cousin, I said, don't spotlight, don't shoot nothing, because we don't know what that light is up there.
Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Well, this road winds and dips. You have to understand it dips and it curves. So we went down a dip where we lost sight of this bright light. And when we come back up, it curves. And when we looked out there again, what it looked like to us was like 10 burning fires or more, just separate fires in a field. And by that point, we were scared, and we were both heavily armed. I think we had about 6 guns with us. We always carried a lot of guns, to shoot coyotes or whatnot with. Mm-hmm. So even at that point, we knew when we seen that light, we were going to go around another curve and lose sight of it. So I just told my cousin, I said, hey, get a couple guns up here and get them loaded, because whatever it is, we're going to drive right up on top of it. We did. And when you come up there, there's a gate and it goes down to a lake. We look down there and there's this big disc, this big silver metallic disc. And I couldn't tell you guys for sure if it was sitting on the water. I believe maybe it was hovering maybe 5 to 10 foot above the water. It was hard to tell, but the weirdest thing about it, okay, it had like an X pattern of lights going over the top of it on this disc. And they were different colors. But the weirdest part, at the bottom sides, it was shooting out, what it looked like was a reddish orange fire. out of the sides of the bottom, all over it, like these ports. And like, okay, if you're driving down the road at night and you see car headlights and it's giving off a reflection, you can kind of tell what kind of vehicle it is from the reflection of the headlights.
Mm-hmm.
Even though this thing was glowing bright orange red out of the bottom, it gave off no reflection, none, zero. And, you know, we might have seen it, to tell you the truth, that close for about 3-4 seconds because we were driving. We rounded the curve, and the field right there is a field that we farmed. We baled hay out of this farm for our cattle. So we come around there, and my cousin kind of looks over at me, and he's like, Ben, what was that we just saw? And I looked at him, I said, I think you know what it was we saw. He's like, yeah. You just stop, and we need to take another look. And I said, no, I don't know. I don't want no part of that. Even with these guns, no. And we got up maybe, I don't know, I'm going to say in between a quarter and a half mile, and there's a railroad tracks that's on a hill, right? And he said, Ben, stop. You got to see this. And when we got on top of this hill with these railroad tracks, he said, you got to see this. So I did, and I grabbed my AR-15, and I threw the bipods out, put it across the hood of my truck, looked through the scope, and I watched this thing take off through my scope. And it rose above the treetops, right? But the orange flame was no longer coming out of the bottom. That was gone. Now the lights, the X pattern of lights over the top was still there. And I kept watching it, It rose slowly. It made no noise. But when it got to about where cloud level would have been, it just vanished, gone, boom.
Wow.
And that was from where we found the dead pig. As the crow flies, way less than a quarter mile. It was right on the same road.
Wow.
Did you get an idea of how big this disc was?
Yeah. It was the size of I don't know, a small house, I would reckon.
Fact.
Something was in it. I can't. Like I said, I tell the truth. I don't know if it was a government, project, or it was an alien project. Whatever it was, it scared us so bad. When we got back to where I lived at the time with my girlfriend in the trailer next to my grandparents, we walked in the door, and my girlfriend said, "What happened to you guys?" She said, "You're ghost white pale. You have no blood. It looks like you're just..." She thought we'd come up on a bad wreck, right? And then we found like people, in a wreck that had been hurt, and killed, and were really like mutilated, and it affected us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it took us a while to even talk about it. And we finally told her what happened and what we saw. And when we told her that, she said, "I absolutely believe you." And, that night I never slept. We went back to the bedroom, and I laid in the bed. I had a Freedom Arms 454 Casull revolver laying on my chest. Never slept. My cousin was laying on the pull-out bed by the front door, and he had an H&K USP 45 laying on his chest, because we thought the whole night something was going to come through that door.
Wow.
That's how scared we were.
So
I don't blame you.
How close were you to this disc when you guys were driving?
I mean, I judge things in yards, guys, because, I shoot, and I judge stuff in yards. I would say 75 yards at the most, because it's down a hill. We were right on top of it. Mm-hmm. Right on top of it. And
it was down was it a lake or a river? What did you say it was?
It was sitting on a lake. We got old mine strip cuts around here, and that's what I live on. The lake, it's an old mine strip cut that filled up with water.
Okay.
And this is what that was. It was a big lake, but it was an old mine pit that had been stripped out and, filled with water. And it was sitting right there on the edge of it. Not like in the middle, but like where it come up in an end of a channel, and it was sitting right there.
Are there a lot of houses around that
At lake? The time, no. There was a couple people that had like a getaway, like a little cabin close to there. You know, it was like a weekend retreat. And we went past it, but I don't remember because my mind at the time was not focused on if people were there at that cabin. We were in shock and scared. So if they were there or not, I don't know.
I'm going to rule out government activity only because if they had a ship like that, what are they doing down by some lake in, where was this at? Western Kentucky?
Southern Illinois.
Sorry. What are they doing? Why would they be doing that?
I don't know, but we went back the next day, and I'll tell you guys this. We went back the next day, me and my cousin, to see if we could go down there and find any kind of markings or whatnot of where it was setting. There were vehicles out there we'd never seen in our life.
Were they black?
No. The ones we've seen were white, and one of them. Okay, I've done residential construction, so I know about siding and stuff like that.
Right. We
seen a van, and this is a small area. You have to understand. I live in here. There's not the population's small, so we know most of the contractors, their names, whatnot. I remember we seen a van. One of the vehicles was a van pulling a trailer. And it said, so I can't remember the name, but it was siding. And the trailer had an air conditioner on the top of it. And there's no reason to air condition siding. You don't air condition house siding. There's no reason to do that. But we plainly remember seeing that. And there was a couple other vehicles on that road too. So we couldn't make it down to the lake that day. There was other vehicles out there we never seen.
Well, for us to think that there's not other life form out there, we're crazy.
Yeah, the universe is so big. Like if you start looking into all this stuff,
right?
It beyond our galaxy, whatnot. There's so many planets that to think we're the only life form out there is, to me, I don't know. It's crazy because there's other life out there.
Yeah, it's selfish to think that way. Honestly,
it's definitely hubris.
It really is.
It's definitely hubris for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as vast, like you said, as vast as the universe is, for us to think that there's not something else out there, and look at it religiously or not, you would think if God's going to create Earth and us on the Earth, why wouldn't He do other things out in other places? Why would it just be us?
Why not?
So,
and how do they get here? I believe they, if you look at black holes and study stuff like that, I believe portals would behave the same as a black hole.
There's wormholes.
And to do that, you have to cross something called an event horizon, which is a point of no return. When not even light can escape once it crosses an event horizon. It sucks it into a black hole. So to get out of something, a portal or something like that, I believe, my theory, you would have to travel faster than the speed of light. And you would have to be in something that could withstand that kind of magnetic gravitational pull. So these life forms, I believe, are way highly advanced than we are, and they can do that.
Yeah, I believe that too. And that they've got some kind of something wherever they're from that allows them to have these shuttles, so to speak. They're spaceships that they can maneuver and control, that are quiet, that are, seem to be magical.
That's the only explanation I have for, I've seen many UFOs around here, but that one was up close, and then watching it through my rifle scope, and for it to just vanish in the blink of an eye, that has to tell me it's moving way faster than the speed of light.
Yeah, I've seen some of those videos where I was just watching one the other day. A guy was filming out of his window of an airplane, and a little smaller UFO come just darting up out of nowhere from the right side of the screen, just boom, and there it was, and it just kind of stopped and was just hovering, kind of following the plane, and then just zoom, gone, like just zapped. It just took off back the way it came.
We also seen another one, and my cousin was with me again around here, and it looked like a blimp type object in the air, and it dropped something smaller out underneath of it, like a smaller object come out underneath of this big blimp object. And, it was during the day, so we could plainly see it. And it was going south of us. So I turned around, and at the time I had a Cobra Mustang, a new one, which they were pretty fast cars.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, we tried to chase it. I mean, I floorboarded. We tried to chase these two things, and I couldn't even keep up with them in that, and they vanished.
Where was that at? Was that same place?
Yeah, it was right. It was right outside a town called Elkville, Illinois, which is maybe 15 miles from where I live.
Mm-hmm. Do you think?
And it was during the middle of the day. I mean, guys, this was like 1 PM. It was just the middle of the day.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Did anyone else report that first UFO or that UFO you were talking about a second ago by the water? Did anyone else?
I don't believe, because, like I said, there was only one. They had like a cabin type place out there, and like, I don't know. I don't remember any lights being on there. I wasn't even worried about looking at the place when we went past it, because I was in so much shock and we were scared. And I never got a chance to talk to the people that lived there or anything. They would have been the only ones, if they were there, even. That was just like a weekend getaway. Even if they were there, I don't know that. I think if they were there, they would have had to have witnessed it, because they would have been so close to it.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about the river bottoms in Kentucky that Bart Nunley's wrote about in his books, Mysterious Kentucky, Volume 1 and 2, The Inhumanoids, some of the stuff I witnessed that he has down there.
What'd you see?
Well, one of the big things that we seen, we were down in Geneva in the bottoms one day, and there was this it wasn't old. I take that back. Somebody had built a hunting lodge right there on the banks of the Ohio River. And whoever built it had to not know really anything about that area, because the Ohio River floods really bad every year it covers the road and it floods way up into there. So whoever built this lodge they didn't know that it would flood. Mm-hmm. So, after it flooded, it ran up into this new lodge they built and completely ruined it, pouring mud and water and everything inside of it. And there was an old tobacco barn. I get what, in Kentucky, there's tobacco barns where they hang it upside down to let it dry out in these old barns.
Right. Yep.
So we decided one day, hey, it's dried out. We'll go in this hunting lodge and see what it's like on the inside, because all the mud had turned to dirt by then. And at the time, we were heavily armed, like we always were. And we were walking through there just checking it out. I bet there was probably, 5 foot of mud turned to dirt on the floor in this new hunting lodge. It was built. It was ruined. So we kind of get back there behind it and start checking out this old tobacco barn. Well, it had a lean-to coming off of it, right? Like if you got a garage, a lean-to where you can pull like a lawnmower or a car or whatever underneath of it. Mm-hmm. There was a camper trailer underneath this lean-to, right? Older one, I would say probably early 70s, late 60s model. I think single axle, best I can remember. We get up to it. The door is almost ripped off of it. The top hinges are tore off. It's hanging on by the bottom hinges. The best I can describe to you guys, there was a smell coming out of it, and it smelled like wet dog.
Mm-hmm.
So, we decided to go into it. We both had, assault rifles and pistols on us. So we decided to go in there and check it out. And when we got in, first walked in, there's a living room area, right? It had just been destroyed. I mean, just destroyed. And there was claw marks on the wall. The best I can remember, it was like 3 claw marks everywhere. Walls, here, just clawed. There could have been 4, maybe the nail was shorter. I can't remember. This was happening so fast. We already knew from going back there all these years, this was, a paranormal, like Bigfoot hotspot. Mm-hmm. So, we get in there, the stronger the stench gets, right? it starts smelling just like more of this wet dog smell. And we could tell it was coming from the back of this camper trailer. So, we both decided, hey, we're in here, we might as well check it out and see what's there. You go first, I'll go behind. He goes first, and I've got my back to him. The first thing we see is a little room off to the side, like, a spare bedroom. Look in there, nothing's there. No blankets, no mattress, no nothing, just empty room. We get back there, closer we get, there's, the back, the big bedroom. And he said, you ready to go in there? Yeah, let's go. We're here. We might as well. We went in there, and the stench, guys, was overpowering at this point. We used to go back there bow fishing in these bottoms too. When the river flooded and it kind of receded, you could go back there and you could bow fish at night. And I know, my cousin had some kind of big log, huge rock thrown at him out of nowhere, and it splashed, landed by him.
Wow.
Yeah, not a human throwing that, probably.
No, not that size. Not that size of you couldn't tell if it was a rock or a tree, but whatever, he's seen it, and whatever is huge, and there ain't no person going to throw something like that.
Right. No. Well, you've had the UFO experience. It sounds like you've had a little bit of the Bigfoot experience.
Yeah, I've had ghost experiences. I
mean, do you think aliens and Bigfoot are related in any way? Or?
I think they're all related. They're all interdimensional creatures that are evil.
Okay. Go into that a little bit.
Well, what do you want to talk about there on that?
Well, you say they're interdimensional. Where do they reside? Are they?
I believe they're. Okay. Our world, would be. I believe it's like a bubble that touches other universes that are bubbles. Correct.
Okay.
And sometimes, when these bubbles get close enough, that's when people get recordings or pictures of ghosts, because we're touching so close to them that when, people record audio or get like a picture of a ghost or, a shadow person and whatnot, our dimension is touching theirs at that time. But for some, cryptid creatures like dogmen and stuff, every time that people report seeing them, if you look at it and kind of map it out, within a 5-mile radius, you got two things in common where they see them: some type of body of water and an old burial ground.
Okay.
So
I thought you were going to say a body of water. I thought you were going to say a body of water and a huge area of woods.
Well, sometimes there is woods and sometimes there's not. If you read Linda Godfrey's books, I've got the honor of working on a TV show that never happened with Linda on Bray Road and the Kettle Marine Forest. And some of the reports she got from cemeteries where dogmen reported there wasn't any woods, but there's really old burial grounds.
Yeah, the dogman thing, the Bigfoot thing's one thing. You start talking about the dogman, you start really thinking, are these government created creatures?
The ones at LBL that attacked the family were.
They just don't seem as normal, I guess, as I would say, as a Bigfoot would.
Because they shot the ones at LBL, Roger and the dad did. And he said, it poured buckets of blood out of it before it died. He said it just bled and bled from the wounds. He said, you can't believe how much it bled. And then it died. It crawled up in a tree and died.
Okay. Did they do anything?
But there was two of them. Now there's two of them. And now for the record, Roger has never said they were dogmen. Ever. He said he did not know what these creatures were. He looked at Bart Nunley's drawing that Bart did back in 2006 when Jan Thompson sent Bart the original account, and he sketched out what she said they looked like. And Roger said that's the closest thing that they look like is his drawing. But he has never once stated that they were. People get that wrong. He has never said that it was a dogman. He said he did not know what these creatures were.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of variations of things out there. We've heard of devil monkeys.
Oh, yeah, devil monkey, sure. Yeah, heard of them, in Texas when I was down around Texas, traveling several times around that area.
It just makes you wonder, yeah, these things, where are these things coming from? Are these natural?
I believe, well,
They paranormal, they government experiment, what the
thing
hell is
about
going on
LBL
around?
is it's only like 30, a little over 30, it's like 32 miles from Fort Hopkins. It's a big military base in Hopkinsville, Kentucky that runs down even in Tennessee. All right, just so happens the 160th Special Aviation Group is stationed there, and they're better known as the Night Stalkers. Have you ever heard of them guys?
Not in the
No.
not the ones you're talking about. No.
Okay, the Night Stalkers are you've heard of when there's UFO crashes and black helicopters show up to retrieve the crash.
Yeah.
That's them. That's the Night Stalkers, 160th Special Aviations Group out of Hopkinsville, Kentucky.
Okay.
And it just so happens they're just like 30 miles. And Rogers told me, he said, when this LBL incident happened, he said, Ben, they showed up so fast. He said, even 30 miles away, they couldn't have got there that fast. So I think they knew that these creatures had escaped and they were tracking them.
Mm-hmm.
And this happened April 7th of 1982. So people are out there, they're getting it wrong. They're saying this family was from Florida. It was a doctor. No, it was not. It was a family, an Amish family that had been excommunicated. I don't know if you know anything about the Amish religion.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, well, I guess somehow
Brian's half Amish, just so you know.
There you go. Okay, well then maybe you're gonna know what I'm talking about. They'd been what would you call it? Excommunicated.
Yeah, what's what's called?
This family had been excommunicated and
shunned. They were shunned.
Shunned, and they were living on some land that a family member of Rogers owned, and he got to befriend the son because the boy was around the same age as him. And what happened at LBL is they all went down there on a weekend, just again weekend getaway, April 7th, 82. And it was right around dusk that these creatures come out and attack the family.
What kind of creatures attack the family?
Well, people say dogman, but Roger never stated. He don't know. He said, I don't know. He said they had a snout and then they looked like Bart Nunley's drawing.
Okay.
I've heard people say, 3 Sasquatches. No, that's not the story. And the story's not, the family was from Indiana. They were Amish. There's 4 of them, a dad, a mom, a boy, and a daughter. And if you read the original reports, it says the bodies were mutilated. No, they were not mutilated. That's wrong.
But they were all killed?
All of them but Roger.
Okay.
Wow. So he didn't like Amish
after
people
Roger
either.
fired the first shot, he went under the motorhome and hid, which, hey, I can't blame you, man. If I seen something like that, I don't care what kind of gun I got. I'm going to hide too.
Right.
And I've heard people say, he couldn't hit under there because the drive shaft would have burned him. Okay, I've worked on cars. The drive shaft don't get that hot. And first off, it'd been parked and sitting there. So it wouldn't been, even if it would have heated up a bit, it wouldn't have been hot. So yes, he did hide under there. And, that it was just very shortly after that these government officials showed up there.
Yeah, well, there's definitely some government connection with everything going on for sure.
Sure, absolutely. They've covered up so much, guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable. I don't trust the government.
Who does?
Yeah, right.
Who does exactly?
Are we supposed to? We're supposed to trust the government?
We can't. I mean, as much as they've lied, they killed John Kennedy. They killed Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh yeah.
Am I going to believe anything they say now? No.
I'll tell you this much. One of the reasons I love doing this show is because I know that Bigfoot's real. I know creatures are real, and I know the government's covering. I know that the government's covering them up. They have to be.
They are.
So any way we can strike back and get these people on like you and talking about things and encounters and people hearing these things over and over and over to get more convinced,
Just getting it out there.
To fight back a little bit and say, hey, quit covering stuff up. Tell us what's going on. Inform us. I know there's reasons why they don't, but there's a whole agency just assigned to maintain, cover up Bigfoot related things and encrypted
That's
things.
the agency that
Those are
come
the
in there
guys
and
that
got Roger when he was like 15 years old at LBL, and they went in there and got him. And then they brought him back to the scene after they took him away from it to look at it and say, is this what happened? Is this what did it?
Right. Well, that's a lot of interesting stuff, Ben. We appreciate you coming on and talking to us tonight, man.
Hey,
Yeah,
anytime. I appreciate doing a show with you guys. I hope I could help you a little bit with, stories that I've got. And
yeah, I like those. We need
we're
a good.
gonna have to get you back on here and talk about
I'm not an author. Look, but my good friend Bart Nunley is. He's wrote so many good books and had so many experiences the same part of Kentucky I have. Mysterious Kentucky 1, 2, the Inhumanoids, Bigfoot in Kentucky. It's very rare now. Documentary DVD Hunt the Dog Man, High Strangeness in Western Kentucky is an excellent documentary about Dogman and Spotsville Monster.
What's that on? YouTube or something?
No, it's on it, but please don't rent it on there because that's a butchered version that was stolen from him. The true version I've got right here. You have to look. The true version is an hour and 15 minutes long.
Okay. Maybe you can send
and
it to
I know
us.
That's a real version. I was sitting at his house and his table, and he pulled it out of a box and signed the cover and the disc and handed it to me.
Oh, cool. Well, we'll have to check that out.
But people ask, and please don't rent it off Amazon because it's anything like that's butchered. It was stolen from him without his permission.
Okay.
And the interview with Linda Godfrey is missing out of it because Linda wouldn't give her permission, which I don't blame her.
Right. Yeah, you got to be careful out there. Well, we'll let you get out of here, Ben. And again, we appreciate it. We appreciate you coming on and telling your stories. We love a good UFO story.
Yeah, and I wish I had time to go into the TV show that never was. I went up there and filmed with Linda and on Bray Road and that, but maybe a story for another time.
Yep. Yeah, we'll get you back on and talk about that.
Heck yeah.
And I was talking to Roger, and maybe he's not feeling well at the time, but maybe we could get him on here too, or Bart.
Sure, absolutely. We'd like to talk to him. Yep. Talk to him and let us know what he says.
Sure. I thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for taking the time to come on here.
Hey, no problem. And like I said, I did it because I listened to y'all's podcast, and you all are honest, and you represent everything respectfully and truthfully. Yep. And that's why I agreed to do it with you.
Thank you. We appreciate it, man. Yep. And that's why we started. Yep.
So, I'll help you all promote it in whatever way I can. So
Awesome, man.
Hey, it's no problem. And I appreciate, taking the time to talk to me.
Absolutely, man. Well, you see anything else or run into anything else or hear anything else, be sure to let us know. Okay.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I will. I mean, I think my next trip's going to be to Arizona, to the Mogollon Rim. To check out, the reports out there. I got a friend out there that's going to go up there with me and help me out on some stuff.
Cool.
We're going to be at CryptidCon in November in Lexington. If you're
Lexington, Kentucky.
Yeah. So if you got time, the end of November, we're going to be at that show. So come on out.
If I happen to make Kentucky, I would. I'd like to meet y'all.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
We'd like to meet you too. Come on out.
Yeah. Thank y'all.
All right, Ben. We'll let you get out of here, bud. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate everything. Bye, y'all.
Definitely did have a lot of things going on there for sure, like we thought, right?
Yeah, man, that was wild.
Crazy stuff.
Yep.
Not sure what those dog creatures he saw were. I'm really interested in those for sure.
I don't know. Yeah, we need to look into that some more. That sounded crazy.
Right. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. The UFO thing, crazy stuff. Guys seen some things and know some things. So.
Yep, I always like hearing about the UFO stuff.
Yeah, I do too. We need to get more of those on here. Once again, everyone, thanks for listening. If you want to be on the show and you had an encounter with anything, get a hold of us. Email us, info@cryptidcreatures.co. Facebook, give us a message on there.
Instagram,
Twitter. We appreciate it, guys.
Just wherever you're at, type in Cryptid Creatures and we will be there.
That's right. Until then, Brian, thanks a lot, man.
Man, always fun.
Right on. Take care, bud.
See ya.